He's a martial artist. He actually won martial art contests, but never a world champion.
You also were in Executive Decision with Steven Seagal, and you seem like, you know, you obviously, in addition to your voice work, you know, Joe over on Twitter was asking, what was it like to work on that movie? And then the ultimate question is, who would win in a fight between Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Executive Decision was a really interesting project because they built the actual fuselage of a 747 on the largest soundstage in the world, which was in Warner Brothers right here in LA. And and it was 1996 that we had a heat wave. And I remember it was very challenging because we had to be inside this fuselage for months at a time. It was literally, and I built it 60 feet up in the air. So the set was us climbing these ladders, getting into this fuselage above the soundstage and literally staying in there all day, most of it. So, but it was, again, incredible cast. And Joe Silver as a producer. And our director was also, again, a first-time director, but he was a very famous editor. He had edited some very famous movies. And what I enjoyed about that especially was like Seagal had some issues on that. I remember Steven Seagal a few times came on the set and threw a complete tantrum. Like he looked at the way they had set up and said, I used to work for the CIA. I was an operative. This is not how you carry a gun. You carry a gun like this. You don't do, I mean, he literally was out of control again. And he had a few issues on there. And it was the only film he's ever got killed on. I don't know if you know that or not. It's the only film that he actually gets killed. So he was there only for a few weeks. He was supposed to get sucked out of the plane. But even in those few weeks, he caused chaos. So he was a difficult personality on that. And if there was a fight between him and Jean-Claude, in his heydays, probably Steven. Because his Aikido skills and stuff was real. He really had those lock-in mechanisms and stuff. You know, but I know the story that when he went up against the judo guy, what was his name?
I think I remember this, what you're talking about. Yeah.
I know him as well. I've actually worked with him. He just passed away last year, I think. Gene LaBelle. He went up to Gene LaBelle. Gene choked him out. That's a true story. But Jean-Claude, I'm not sure. And Jean-Claude has also got a reputation. People say he's a dancer, he's not a martial artist. He's a martial artist. He actually won martial art contests, but never a world champion. So there's a difference between him and someone like Dolph Lundgren, who really was the world full contact karate champion. So like Dolph would really kick his ass, but in real life, you know, he had a great form. He was an athlete. He looked good. But I would put Jean-Claude more of a dancer than a full-on martial artist, you know?
Nice. So, man, you have crossed paths with a lot of our, like, action stars, a lot of people who would be in like Expendables, right?
It's true.
Is there, who was the nicest to work with and who was just the biggest headache to work with? You mentioned Steven Seagal and JCVD, they had their issues, but is there anybody the nicest and the you know, biggest headache?
The nicest. Carl Urban was one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with. Carl Urban. I worked with him on Pathfinder. One of the nicest guys. He was the lead in the movie too, but he was just so down to earth and so nice. Tommy Lee Jones, one of the most difficult. But really? He goes out of his way to be difficult. I loved him. I got along with him, but he could be very abrupt. He could be very like he was all about the work. If you come and start a chit chat with him, he might just walk off on you. He was just known to be like brutal when he was like.
He always comes off as a grumpy old man, doesn't he?
I made a mistake once. We were working on a scene, and he did something great, and I said, "Tommy, I love your instincts," and he just looked at me with his cold eyes and said, "Kid, instincts is for dogs that fuck in the streets and birds that fly south." That was literally his answer to me. I was like, thank you would have been nice.
I mean, that's kind of the coolest fucking thing anybody's ever said, right? Let's be real. That's really cool.
It is. And he said it right in front of Ron Howard. We all like looked was like, okay, let's get out of this trailer.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
I can't imagine how hard it is for some of these directors to work with some of these actors with the
Oh.
egos, and
Well, you
not
can't.
even so much the egos, but just the they just work on a different level
It is.
mentally than a lot of people.
Like some of these guys I've worked with, they say how many takes they want, not the director. Like the director, is that good for you? They decide. They go, no, I got one more. They decide how many takes they do.
That's crazy to me. That's crazy.
I mean,
Because I remember you said that Jean-Claude was he was directing some of the scenes you said, and it's like, wow, I wonder how the director felt about that.
well, I mean, he actually got involved, like trying to show like Raul to do some of the moves and stuff, and some of the other actors didn't like. You know, like he was showing how to like do an open palm thing or whatever. But he was very animated. You know, Jean-Claude, you could see he was on something. He was very animated on Street Fighter. You know, it was like I remember I trained with him one day. He said, "Let's train together." We trained, and then he said, "Let's go jump in the ocean." And this is Australia with white sharks. I said, "You go jump in the ocean." I'm like, "No thanks, you go."
Well, I tell you what, you seem like one hell of a nice guy. So I'd much rather work with guys like you than guys like that.
Who else? Meryl Streep, one of the nicest human beings ever. I worked with Meryl Streep, and you would think someone with her aura would be, you know, diva, but she was again so down to earth, so sweet. Kate Blanchett also. I found the bigger they are, usually the nicer they are. Actually, you know, sometimes you get exceptions, but the biggest names I've seen, they usually are the sweetest, down to earth people I've seen. And I think it goes with the territory. They know who they are. You know, like Kate was absolutely amazing. Who else? Halle Berry. I had a good time with Halle on Executive Decision Planning Up. I've been very fortunate. I've worked with some of the most amazing female actors, like Kerry Russell, Halle Berry, Kate Blanchett, Meryl Streep. I mean, you know, I've had a really good list of amazing actresses I've worked with throughout my career.
Well, let's finish this with talking about a legend in his own rights in the last movie that he did. I'm speaking of Raul Julia. How was he on set? What was he like? And did you have, you know, the movie was released after he passed on. I don't know, just love to hear your thoughts on Raul Julia.
Raul, first of all, people don't know, he was like 6'4", maybe even taller. And when he came to our set, he had just had a full surgery where that cut him from up here down there, stomach surgery. And he was 164 pounds at 6'4". Wow. And he was so weak. So the challenge was to get him ready to play Bison, this like a warlord, literally. And the reason he had taken the job is because his kids loved the movie, you know, and they said, "Dad, you got to play this." So he decided to take it. And he was able to put on the Bison uniform, and he would like literally sleep on the makeup chair while they were getting him ready. When they would say, "Mr. Raul, Mr. Julia, we're ready for you," he would get up, he would take a couple of breaths. How he did it, I still don't know. He was able to like mentally turn on a switch and he would go, he would become Bison. And I would go, "Did you see that? The guy was like, he was half dead 2 minutes ago." He was just, I mean, it was something spectacular to watch, how he could just switch it on and will the power out of him. So he will it, literally become this uber power. And
wow, that's cool.
Again, he was another huge loss to. In fact, I flew back with him from Australia when we were coming back, and that was the last time I saw him because he went to do a movie in Canada, and I think 3 weeks later he was gone.
And Street Fighter, he really put a lot of passion and emotion into that character, and
it's unbelievable.
You can see it.
And he ad-libbed. There were some funny lines he put in there, like when he's talking to Sagat, and he says, "Did you see that?" He goes, "I guess you didn't see that either." He covers the other eye because he's about that. He was just brilliant. You know?
As an actor, do you think that it helps for that transformation when you're actually, you know, in that costume and that costume gets on you? It's almost like, I guess, when you're putting on a mask, it's like you feel like a different person. You think that has a lot to do with it?
Absolutely. For me, I need to see the character in the mirror. Then that's why the physicality is so important to me. You got the character's walk, you got the character. That's why for me, the physical aspect. I approach my characters like that. I need to get that physicality, because then, then he comes out of there. Like, if I'm going to play New Yorker, as soon as I go, yo, forget about it. As soon as the physicality comes with it,
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. He was just a master at it. I mean, that guy literally did theater, did Broadway, did movies. He had everything. I think he had an Oscar, a Grammy, and a Tony. He had everything.
Hey, if you enjoyed that clip, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Would greatly appreciate that, so you can find more clips on the channel. And of course, come join us live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time for our live Side Scrollers podcast. We would love to see you there.